Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video. Today I have a fixed blade for you, and it is this knife, the Bradford Guardian 3. Okay, this knife is one that I've actually been interested for quite a while. They're fairly expensive, so I couldn't pick one up as quickly as maybe I would have liked, but I finally got my hands on one and I'm very, very impressed with it. So overall, you can expect a pretty positive review, and you just want a quick good or bad, it is a very good knife, okay? So, specifics on this one, it is the N690 rather than the M390 version, and that's primarily due to cost. And they switched, I guess about a year ago, they switched to the M390, and I think there may be some other steels out there as well. Obviously, I went with the green G10 over the other. There are a number of other options for the handle color on these, all right? And I think there's one that does not have the top swedge. I went with the one that had the swedge, and the green rather than the non-top swedged version. Okay, so let's get back to, now that you know kind of which version of the Bradford Guardian I've got. By the way, they all come with the same sheath, so I'm just kind of showing you the sheath by way of introduction. We'll talk a little bit about this sheath when we get to carry, which I usually do with size and weight. And so let's go ahead and get that going. So the overall size on this is 6 7/8 inches. So just under 7 inches. You got 3.5 inches of blade, 3.25 inches of handle. Yes, that is a fairly small handle, but the choil kind of makes up for that. And we'll talk about that when we get to ergonomics. Weight on just the knife is 3.6 ounces. Now, obviously, you're not going to carry just the knife. You've got to have a sheath with you. The sheath it comes with is a very high quality leather sheath. I'm not a big leather sheath guy. Generally, I'd prefer Kydex, but this sheath is very comfortable, okay? It's really nice when you're carrying it to either kidney carry or in the small of your back. It does carry very comfortably and unobtrusively, and part of that is because of the comfort and the pliability of the leather, okay? So that needs to be said. It does carry fairly well. And it's not highly noticeable. Now, let me give you the extra size here. When you put the sheath on, maybe you're going to put this in a backpack or in a cargo pants pocket or something. You need to know the overall length is 7.5 inches, and the overall weight with the sheath is 5.8 ounces. 5.8 ounces. So, you know, if you compare that to a folder, guys, that is a little heavy, right? Most of my folders, even with 3.5, 4-inch blades, don't get close to 6 ounces. I have some that are 6 ounces and over 6 ounces, but that's, for a folder, that would be pretty heavy. Now, the one thing that I will say about that is this isn't really designed to go in a pocket, okay? It just doesn't work well. I have one pair of pants that has a pocket that this fits in really nicely and just leaves the bottom of the handle sticking out, but that's just sort of a fluke. That's the only pair of pants where this will work, and it's sort of a construction pair of pants where you've got that thin pocket on the side. So generally that's not going to work. You're going to be putting this on your belt, and on your belt it's very comfortable, very easy to deal with. Since we're on size and weight, let's do some quick comparisons. I've got here the Tops Tebow, and there they both are with sheath. I've got, so hold on, let me put this one back in the sheath. I've got the SD3, and there they both are with the sheath. Let me pull those out. So there's the SD3. You can see, by the way, in terms of a primary fixed blade, these two are the ones that I carry most often. If I'm carrying it as a secondary, then, you know, I may carry the Tops Tebow or my Browse Silent Soldier, which I don't have here to show you right now. But there's the Tops Tebow. You can see the size is fairly similar, but there's a lot more blade on the Guardian. Okay. So, the big difference I would say between all of these is they all carry differently. I think I updated you recently and pointed out that I've been carrying this way, vertically rather than horizontally lately. All right, so there are some comparisons, and I'd say these two are probably the ones that are closest, okay, and these two are the ones that I carry most often as my primary primary knife. All right, the other fixed blades I have that are smaller, I will carry them more as like a secondary. Okay, so let's get into some of the specifics on this. Let me zoom in a little bit and let you see this a little closer up so you can check out the very well done stone wash and some of the particulars of this blade. Okay, here we go. So I think you can see very, very attractive knife, very well put together. I went with the green G10. There are a bunch of handle options. You can see very nice stone wash finish on that N690 steel. And hopefully you can see here, the only complaint, let's see what side it's on. Sorry guys, I've got to look for this. Okay, right here at the tip, it's perfectly, this grind is extremely well done, but it looks like right here, they slipped with the grinder a teeny bit and made that edge a little uneven. Otherwise though, it's very good. And that doesn't affect for performance at all. It's purely an aesthetic thing. Okay, so there's the blade. You have 3 inches of cutting edge on this N690. Very, very capable, very, very utilitarian blade. And I will say, in terms of design, they seem to have gone for a more all-around blade. You know, it's not really designed to be a bushcraft blade. It's more an EDC blade. So the edge geometry is very good. They have probably sacrificed a little bit of toughness to get a slightly finer point and a little better edge geometry, but I prefer that. Okay, especially in a knife this size. What, am I going to chop with it? No, obviously not. So, very, very good utility blade. You know, it'll do all the cutting that you need to do in your regular life, and it'll carry very easily. Okay, so I think that's really, really kind of critical. And I can tell you that I have cut all kinds of things with this. And by the way, it came quite sharp. I've touched it up one time when I first got it, and then since then I've only stropped it. So edge retention has been very, very good for my use. And I've cut wood, I've cut cardboard, I've cut fruit and vegetables. You guys know I've talked about the cheese test, where I always try to cut some cheese with a blade to see just how well it slides through. Cheese is pretty sticky, okay? So it's a really good test to see if your blade does well for slicing. If you cut it through a block of cheese and you can't do it because the cheese is binding up on the blade, that's a good indication you've got a knife that's not going to slice well. Okay, so I've done all that stuff, and this is just a really, really nice utility fixed blade. It does all the kind of cutting, and it's designed to be an EDC fixed blade. Okay, so very, very good performance out of this blade. The top swedge does thin it out a little bit at the point, and primarily for me that's aesthetic. Okay, I don't really see this as a great defensive blade, although as we've said before, you know, if you're in real trouble, you're going to use anything that you've got at your disposal. So, all right. Let's see, moving on from the blade, which does perform very, very well, let's talk about the handle and the ergonomics. I'll stay zoomed in a little bit. I may back out here in a second, but at least now you can see the very strongly textured G10. The cool thing about the fairly large texturing on this is that it doesn't cut into your hands, like it doesn't chew you up. It is very comfortable, and the back of this handle just locks into sort of the fat of your palm really nicely. And I've done some pretty hard cutting. I went and found some hardwood in my backyard wood pile and purposely went ahead and did some carving on it just to get a feel for how this knife would perform under sort of more difficult cutting circumstances, and it did really, really well. It's quite comfortable, and that's largely because of the extra thickness. Okay, a lot of small fixed blades are fairly thin in the handle, and that really thin handle combined with a small knife can be uncomfortable. This not so. By the way, the blade stock, I should have mentioned this, is fairly thick. You got a good 1/8 of an inch here, which again gives you, you know, it lets you get a good purchase with your thumb, lets you push down on that blade without, you know, having the blade harm you in any way or become overly uncomfortable. All right, so there's the handle ergonomics are very good. There is a lanyard. I don't do lanyards on my knives, so I can't really speak to that. It looks like it's pretty small. You'd probably have a hard time getting 550 cord through there unless you stripped it out first. Let's see. Let's move on to the sheath, and we'll back up a little for this. Now, obviously, I've got to say that when you EDC a fixed blade, you are sacrificing, you know, if I use this Gonzo for an example, you know, on this knife, I've got more blade, I've got more handle, obviously. When you compare any fixed blade to any folder, you're going to get more size per weight and per ease of carry with a folder. The reason for a fixed blade is, you know, you get extra durability, extra toughness, a little extra speed. And I'm not going to go into all of that. I do have a video about why to EDC a fixed blade, and I'll put that in the description below. Okay, so let's talk about the sheath. The sheath is really well done. You've got this very thick, heavy, durable leather. Okay, very attractive. Now I haven't coated this, but I'll probably put some Neat's foot oil on this before too long. I've been switching, okay guys, so I sometimes have kidney carried this, so then the knife is this way and your belt is through here and it's kind of sitting on your hip. The only problem with that is that the knife tends to bend, cant out a little bit because of the contour of your hip, and then you've got this handle kind of jutting out from near your belt buckle, which looks a little odd. When you carry it in the small of your back, it's definitely more comfortable and not as noticeable. However, here's my complaint about the sheath. The sheath, by the way, is totally functional. Notice your knife isn't going anywhere. You could run a marathon with this sheath on your belt and you're not going to have to worry about losing your knife. That's a real win. Here's my complaint though. I wish it was a little more versatile. You know, I wish that this was a Kydex sheath with a clip that could be rotated in any direction so that I could just clip it to wherever I want and I'm good to go. Okay, we've had this conversation before. I definitely prefer that. So what I'll say about the sheath is that in its designated role, which has to be horizontal carry, you can carry it, you know, at the back, or you can carry it sort of kidney carry. It's very comfortable. It's very functional in those positions. It just, if you wanted to ever put it somewhere else, you just can't. Okay. Further, you can get a Kydex sheath from Bradford, but I looked around on the secondary market and there's not much else out there. I guess you could. Now Kydex is fairly easy to work with. You could make your own Kydex sheath for this, or you can buy the Bradford Kydex sheath, and that's about it. Okay. I could not find any on eBay. Maybe some of you will know some. If you do find some, or if you have a good source for Kydex sheaths for this, go ahead and put it in the comments below. But this sheath is totally acceptable, just not as versatile as I would like it to be. Okay, so there you go. Overall, very good knife. Yes, is it worth the extra money? You know, if you compare this to an Azula or a Beckernecker or something like that, it's going to cost quite a bit more. Now it's around the same price as the SE. I know that. Yeah. So overall, pretty good knife, and I don't think I have any major complaints about it. Sorry about that phone call. I'm not going to edit it out. You're going to get to see me just ignoring that call. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Overall, very good knife. I have no major complaint other than, of course, I would like the versatility of a Kydex sheath with a clip that could be moved. Everything else about this, I think, is just what it should be. And when you put this on your belt and carry it, which I've done quite a lot of just for the purposes of this review. I've even carried this when I'm carrying something else just to get a sense for how it carries. It is comfortable. Okay, so I know I've complained about the sheath, but I will give credit where credit is due. It fits fine and it's comfortable to carry around. There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and that is my take on a very good EDC fixed blade Bradford Guardian 3.